This is CBC Toronto News.
You're looking at a live shot of the Toronto Congress Centre. Ontario Progressive Conservatives are holding their annual convention. It's an opportunity to debate party policy and this year congratulate themselves on forming government. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover, and with those congratulations came controversies. This week, the provincial Conservatives abolished the position of the French Language Services Commissioner. That decision had reverberations across the country, especially in Quebec, where the federal Conservatives are hoping to pick up seats in the upcoming election. Federal leader Andrew Scheer was at the Ontario meeting of Conservatives today, and as Lorenda Redekop shows you, he stayed away from weighing in on the Ford government decision.
A show of unity today in front of a crowd the federal leader wants to win over. He used Premier Doug Ford's same slogans.
This is truly a government for the people. Ontario is once again open for business.
Andrew Scheer seemed to be in early campaign mode and got big cheers for an issue many Conservatives oppose, the federal carbon tax.
To Justin Trudeau, you are the enemy. The commuter, the office worker, the hockey mom, the retired senior, those are the people that are getting dinged by this carbon tax. That's why it's unfair.
But this party provincially has had a tumultuous few weeks. A new book by the former leader Patrick Brown in part blames party insiders for ousting him. Plus, a cabinet minister was recently forced out over alleged sexually inappropriate behavior. Media could not listen to today's debates, confined to a separate room. But one resolution that passed suggests the power of social conservatives in the party. It calls for the teaching of gender identity to be scrapped from Ontario schools.
Gender identity ideology is nothing more than liberal ideology.
The resolution is non-binding, but will now be debated by the provincial party next year.
The Premier needs to come out immediately and denounce these policy resolutions right now, whether or not he considers them to be formally endorsed or not by the party.
A few minutes drive from the convention, dozens of people gathered to protest against Doug Ford's policies. The location they chose, just in front of his family business.
To call this government a government for the people is a sick travesty of right-wing populism. It is a government of the rich and only the rich.
But Ford's party won a majority, in power for the next 3.5 years. Scheer implored these Ontario supporters to help him in the federal election next year.
We need every dollar you can spare, every hour of extra time you have, every drop of sweat that you can give.
Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, controversial ideas are emerging from members of Ontario's Progressive Conservative Party tonight.
It stems from a resolution criticizing the recognition of gender identity in our schools. It was tabled at a policy convention underway this weekend. Our John Musselman is live at the Toronto Congress Centre with the details. John.
Well, Andrea, I think the first thing we need to mention here is that this is a non-binding resolution, so it's not official government policy. Still, it's garnered a lot of attention today, and not all of it positive. Federal Conservative leader Andrew Scheer says his party is on track to defeat Justin Trudeau, much the same way Ontario PC leader Doug Ford defeated Kathleen Wynne in the Liberal Party last spring.
Canadians will have an opportunity to pass judgment on the legacy of failure, on failing to help the middle class, on failing to run a clean and ethical government.
Scheer delivered a speech to more than 1,000 supporters today at the Ontario PC convention at the Congress Centre. A controversial resolution was passed calling for further discussion on gender identity in schools. It was put forth by failed leadership candidate Tanya Granick-Allen. It reads, quote, "Be it proposed that an Ontario PC party recognizes gender identity theory for what it is, namely a highly controversial, unscientific, liberal ideology, and as such that an Ontario PC government will remove the teaching and promotion of gender identity theory from Ontario schools and its curriculum. Keep in mind, it is a non-binding resolution and it is not official government policy. Still, critics were quick to denounce the resolution.
I think it says that a lot of social conservatives and particularly people who have a problem with LGBTQ people are still very much a powerful force in this party, and that's very concerning to me.
Stop the war on the poor, make the rich pay.
Meanwhile, about 100 protesters gathered outside the Ford family business in North Etobicoke. They carried signs that read, "Stick it to Ford" and "Open class war."
We're here to make sure Doug Ford understands that Ontario can't be open for business at the expense of people's lives. And what he's doing with launching attacks, serious attacks on social assistance, minimum wage, job protections.
We choose unity and love over hatred and division. And we willingly pay our taxes for the good of all.
Police kept an eye on the hour-long protests, which remained peaceful. And Kathleen Wynne sent out a tweet late this afternoon calling this resolution dangerous, hateful, and irresponsible. Premier Doug Ford was not commenting today. Reporting live at the convention, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
All right, John, thank you.
You're watching Global Toronto. This is Global News at 6.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Carcassol, and we start tonight with the passing of a contentious resolution. The Ontario PC Party has voted to debate whether or not they should recognize gender identity. Today's debate derailed the party's efforts to stay on their message about saving taxpayers' money. Travis Danraj has more from the party convention.
On day 2 of the Ontario PC convention, federal Conservative leader Andrew Scheer delivered a familiar refrain.
That the party on the taxpayers' dime is over, that common sense and fiscal responsibility are back, and that Ontario is once again open for business.
A crowd of hundreds listened to Scheer rail against the Prime Minister and the carbon tax. But the main event was not the only thing people were talking about. Tanya Granick-Allen, who ran for the leadership against Doug Ford, brought forward some controversial policy resolutions, including one on gender identity, proposing the government remove the teaching and promotion of gender identity theory from Ontario schools and the curriculum. The resolution moved forward.
As you saw in the room, the overwhelming majority of members voted in favor of this, so it's a very happy day for parents in Ontario.
Do you believe trans people exist?
I believe there are two sexes, and I believe there are in most cases, two genders. But I'm not a sexual neuroscientist, and I defer to the experts. And from what the experts have said, gender is not a social construct.
Outrage to the move by the party was swift online. While the resolution is not binding, it does signal the direction the party wants to go, according to the NDP.
I think he is actually quite beholden to her. That concerns me a great deal. Again, that's why I think that the Premier has to come out and soundly denounce these policies and all of the actions and resolutions that Ms. Tanya Granick-Allen brought forward today.
The PC party released a short statement today. To be clear, the resolutions passed on the floor were passed as debate items for next year's convention. They were not passed as policy coming out of this convention. They were brought forward to the Policy Advisory Committee prior to this convention and were rejected. We are a party that encourages open discussion and debate and giving the grassroots of our party a voice. But members of the PC party expressed concern today.
I was surprised, but I don't think it's going to go very far because just from, as I said, youth members that are currently here today at the convention center and people that I'm talking to from other parts of Canada, they are all expressing their disdain with this policy suggestion.
And today the party seemed to be in damage control when it comes to this issue. The Premier has yet to comment on this, but one thing is clear, the calls for him to do just that are continuing to grow. Travis Danraj, Global News, Toronto.